forward. You want to come up?
I'll wait till the end.
Okay.
Can I approach the table?
Right there. I got to turn it on.
Okay, this one right here. Okay, got it. I can't stay long, so I'd like to just make a few words if I could.
I got it on.
Okay. My name is Jeff Pagoda, and I live at 882 Bradley. And I own a bunch of land over there for many years. I live right across the valley, Little Valley from Rob. So I pretty much know what he's doing over there. And I want to tell you that he is a great guy, and what he's doing is for the love of wine and people. It's not about making money. He's got so much invested in all his equipment, this and that, he's never made it back in many years. It's for the love of wine. And he has some people out who does tastings, and they're so reserved and considerate of other people. No howling, shouting. Just some people on Saturday afternoon, a little bubbly laughter. I wish I could get over there with them guys. It sounds like it's a lot of fun. But I just want you to know what kind of guy he is. He's a stand-up guy, a great neighbor. He doesn't do things that impact others negatively. And I think that is what a lot of this inquiry is about. Would this home-based business impact other neighbors negatively? And like I say, he certainly owns a law firm. He's not in this to make money. He makes this fantastic wine, and he's just offering it to some people that taste it to be able to have it for themselves. And so, my opinion is that he should be able to do this. It's a wonderful thing. He's making a lot of people happy, and I vote that he should be able to continue this business there at his address. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
I'm Jim Foster, 993 Scottville resident. Is this a special exception for a home-based business, or is this a home-based special exception? I need to ask you one.
We're not supposed to have a discussion. This is, and we were here.
Was we allowed $0 on the special exception charges? If this is a special exception permit, should it not have gone to the planning commission with the dates he's doing it, not just for 6 of them? Why? All other businesses have to come before the town board and the planning commission with a special exception permit with a date and time and all, and Palmer didn't answer any of those questions. I don't understand what we're doing here tonight, to be honest with
You sat right next to me in the meeting.
you. That was for the home-based business and for the agreement.
That's right. And the agreement was going to be put in the form of a permit for a home-based business. That is the permit that will enact the settlement that you agreed to, and that will protect the town in the future, and it will protect Mr. Fowler in the future, and it outlines the rules of the game.
So this is for the home-based business at all, not for the special exception?
This is for the permit to enact that lawsuit settlement.
Okay.
That's why we're,
So it doesn't give you any of the permit for the 6 special exceptions,
Special events.
special events?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, that's all I want to ask.
you can have a special event that comes in like anybody else.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wish to make comment?
Greg Schaefer, 747 Nicholas Drive. I am an adjacent property owner to Fuller Wine. I'm as confused as Tim is of this process. I've looked at this, I assume, special exemption application, and when I read your own procedures, I don't see that this is done the planning commission. You haven't complied with a 30-day deadline. You have not created a staff report. that is available to the public. As far as the application, I don't even consider it complete. I can go through, I've read your comprehensive plan through 2040. This business is not consistent with that when it is considered in the eyes of that comprehensive plan that this board is entrusted to follow. There is this stipulation that you guys are looking at. Looks like a paralegal could write it better. It doesn't refer to state statutes, to your zoning ordinances, all the things your planning commission is supposed to write in. I'd like to know who wrote this stipulation agreement. Is it still been unsigned?
We can't speak back.
So this is all the stuff that should be handled and answered in a planning commission staff report. So us constituents of yours know absolutely nothing about what's going on with this process. And you need to answer for it. I'm out of time.
You're out of time. Unless you want to go a little further. It's up to him.
Give him a minute.
You can give him the, okay, go ahead.
What's that?
They'll give you another minute.
So, I mean, I reviewed your guys' zoning, and I can tell you, I do not feel that tastings, I don't have a problem selling for on-site consumption. I have a problem allowing people to drive in the neighborhood that have nothing to do with events or tastings. I have a problem with that. The other things, the agricultural growing grapes, not a problem. It is per the zoning. Making of wine, I have no issues. It doesn't impact me. But there is a lot of nuances to this that ADA compliance, all this stuff that a planning commission needs to handle and review that will drive to restrictions is non-existent to everything I have seen. So you are not following your own procedures and policies and being true to your ordinances.
Time is up.
Hi, my name is Dr. Steve Flicky. I'm at 740 Lake Drive, and did you guys have a chance to get these pamphlets I left for you guys?
Yes.
In review. Does everybody have these? Yes. Okay. First of all, yes, there's a lot of nuances going on. What Greg said, there has not even been a fire inspection down in this area. And he's been illegally running his business for this long. No ADA, no fire inspection. If you look through the pictures, you look at the aerial photo of Walter Farm Road and Nicholas Drive, we have no center line, no sidewalk, no curb. Within Nicholas Drive, every single household has children under the age of 18. Over half the houses on the Waldorf Farm Road has children under the age of 18. In both Nicholas Drive and on the Waldorf Farm Road, we have special needs children. Now, if you look past those pages, you can see pages and pages of all this tasting that he's offering. Noon, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. If you look at this map right here, if you look at the corner right there, we have a T-ball field there where kids congregate. Now you're looking at 3 different tasting times, and one of those messages, he's going to a party of 16. How many of you would like people to drive through your neighborhood tipsy? Maybe they're not drunk, but they're tipsy. You think about you guys authorizing him to have this winery in our neighborhood, the liability you guys are putting on yourselves. And it's a shame that 3 of you guys went to go visit his wineries, but none of you took the time to ask how the neighbors are impacted and what is impacted on us. Look at the last few pages, all the traffic, all the cars. See, a lot of my my neighbors have the luxury of having long driveways and woods in front of them. We don't. We are right there. I've planted over 30 trees since moving. I've had no cameras on my house. It's been ridiculous. You can see the number of people he has at his space. He knew what he was doing was illegal right off the bat. In his email or in one of his Facebook posts.
I'm going to give you one more minute.
Thanks. One of his notes, someone asked him how was able to pull it off. He said, make sure you're properly zoned for it. That's imperative. I've been battling with my township, and they're a bunch of assholes. So he knew he was on the wrong to begin with. And let alone the traffic and the cars, we've had to call the cops because of the cars. Like, there's no way if you look at those photos, a fire truck can get there, an ambulance can get there. What if it's your mom or your children that was dying and they're hindered because someone is so self-centered to think it's okay to open a winery in a cul-de-sac? It's ridiculous. And lastly, to even make it even better joy, you can see on the last page, Tim Keeney gets robbed. We have winery spillage running down his driveway into the cul-de-sac. Multiple times a year, it stinks like rotten grapes, fermented grapes in there. So, there's a lot of legal issues that's wrong with this, but number one, the liability issue is going to fall on you guys if someone gets hurt. Thank you.
I'm Diane Will, 745 Nicholas Drive. I'm Rob Fowler's wife. And I'd like to speak directly to what Steve said about the dangers to the neighborhood. If we want to talk about dangers to the neighborhood, I'd like you to note that Steve 3 times illegal women crashed his vehicle in the neighborhood.
We don't,
Also,
if you can just stick to the subject.
I am sticking to the subject because he's claiming that that's character
Please stick to the
assassination.
subject.
Okay, the subject is safety to the neighborhood, and the fact is that we're not a safe risk to the neighborhood. The folks that are upset with us, specifically him, are dangerous to the neighborhood. The fact that he says that he called the cops on us, yep, the cops arrived, and they saw a bus do a U-turn in the cul-de-sac, and then they didn't even approach us because there was not an issue. We've been harassed by Mr. Flicky for 4 years and his wife because they have a personal vendetta against us for a different issue when she was running the business out of her home. So I'd like you to take that into consideration when you're thinking about what he has to say about the winery. Thank you.
Greg White, 831 Kelly Road, resident. I've personally been to a couple tastings, very well managed, very well operated, and very safe. I also, my backyard backs up to Jeff Babilka, who spoke earlier, and so I consider myself a neighbor, just a stone's throw away from the backyard vineyard. And I also have not seen any other tastings get out of control. My wife operated an in-home business licensed by the state, as this winery is also licensed by the state. She ran that, operated that for over 10 years, and in the same neighborhood. And in-home businesses are good for the community, and I'm wholeheartedly in favor of granting this exception.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Bates. I'm at 743 Nicholas Drive. I'm the missing adjacent neighbor next door. Just my perspective. Our house is up higher. I can see the tastings. I can hear the tastings. I can smell the fermented grapes. And I can tell you, as a parent in the neighborhood, who I don't like the character assassination that just happened up here at all. But let me just tell you one thing. I am not in favor of people being able to drive into our neighborhood, according to what I read in this special exemption report, and pick up a bottle of wine at 10 p.m. I have concerns about that, and the kids, and the traffic. It is just really something I would ask you all to think about if you want that in your neighborhood. Thank you.
My name's Rick Freezer. I live at 860 Ultra Farm Road. My property backs up to Miss Bates, Mr. Cavallo that was here earlier, and is kind of kitty corner from the back of Fowler's Vineyard. I've known Rob since he started this business. I've known him a little longer than that. I was there in the beginning of this business. I watched him file all of his paperwork with the state. I watched him go through all of the different hoops that he's had to jump through. I have not. I have been to 2 for my business. I've taken my employees there twice. He runs a very respectable business. He does not overserve people. To the last comment, nobody is allowed to drive up to his house at 10 o'clock at night and pick up a bottle. That's not how that works. You have to seek him out online, set up a private event for your people, show up, and then you can purchase afterwards there. This isn't a situation. There was more disruption last weekend from a 40th birthday party in the neighborhood than I have heard the entire time he's had his business open. I've also almost had accidents with teenagers in my neighborhood. I just feel like all of this is way beyond proportion for something that shouldn't even be an issue, personally.
Clarify the stipulation.
Hang on, does anyone else have a comment? You can after he's done.
Hello, everybody. I'm Robert Fowler on 745 Nichols Drive. A couple things I just wanted to make clear for the audience members more than yourselves, because one of the things that the audience doesn't perhaps know is how much we have dealt with this board, with the town's competent attorneys who have provided those folks advice. We've been to court. I filed business based on the fact that I read the code and it allowed agricultural businesses. There's not a dispute that wine is an agricultural product. It's the oldest agricultural product known to man, 9,000 years old. There was no special zoning required for alcohol producing businesses under the code. So when I applied for a building permit a long time ago in 2019, it wasn't in secret. I told you what I was going to do, and here we are today. Now, I understand how, the not in my backyard syndrome works, and I think we've heard a little bit of that tonight. One of the things I want to be very clear about is I was open with my neighbors that I was starting a winery. 2 of them that just spoke were members of my wine club before I applied for an alcohol permit. So this isn't secret. This isn't nefarious. This has always been what I had intended to do. And I've really run, as Mr. Frazier just said, I believe I've run a very responsible business. In the grand total that I've been open since 2019, we maybe have had 120 tastings over those 5-month periods. We're not open to the public. We do ask people to make an appointment, and we have people come, and I know who's coming. Mr. Bill may have actually.
Can I have one more?
And so, this, you all know the backstory to all that's gone into this. It's taken a lot of negotiation. And I want to make it really clear for the audience. My election to this position had nothing to do with this. I was negotiating with Mr. Muller's office long before I even thought about it. And this has been an ongoing process. So we have had discussions with your partner in January, in February. These 2 items are unconnected is what I want to tell you. The fact is, We need to put this to bed. A lot of work has gone into it. Planning commission issue, look, they give a recommendation. You have heard, you were at the workshops, you were at the meetings when we handled this out. I just want a clear path forward so that we put this to bed and not have additional expense to either myself or the town. I plan to continue to run a responsible business. I don't want any of my neighbors' kids to get hit by any car. And we have not, to my knowledge, ever had somebody leave in intoxicated status because I'm very careful. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Julie Flicky. I'm a resident in the neighborhood at 740 Nicholas Drive, Hudson. I'm here to ask you to oppose the special exemption permit for Follow Right LLC. I'm a resident of the neighborhood directly impacted by the proposed special exemption permit. I'm here today to strongly oppose the approval of this permit. The property in question is located at the end of a narrow dead-end cul-de-sac within a residential development that is never intended to support commercial scale activity. Our roads are winding without sidewalks and pose daily safety concerns even under normal residential use. The addition of commercial production and hosting at least 6 large-scale events per year with overflowing traffic in additional to personal business events, as stated in that exception, will also provide overflow parking. And this is a serious public hazard. This proposal is incompatible with the structure, intent, and zoning of our neighborhood. Further, the permit would allow wine tastings, on-site consumption, and off-site sales every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., all within a family neighborhood filled with children, walkers, and cyclists. There is simply no version of this operation that aligns with the residential character of this community. In my opinion, the applicant has shown a pattern of behavior that raises questions regarding trust, transparency, as his binary ambition is led from a small-scale personal use production without tastings and events to what appears to be a full-scale business profile and event center. In my opinion, his past actions have involved a lack of disclosure, a tendency to weaponize legal procedures, and public grandstanding that has resulted in unnecessary division, stress among his neighbors and the town of Hudson in general.
Time's up, but you can have one more minute.
This permit process feels more like a forced negotiation than a community-minded proposal. We did not buy homes in a residential development to be surrounded by commercial alcohol sales and event hosting. This is not about denying agricultural rights. This is about protecting the integrity and safety of a residential neighborhood. Denying this exemption would support the preservation of the township's rural and agricultural character. For the sake of our families, our peace, and the community's future, I respectfully urge the board to deny the special exemption permit tonight. Thank you.
My name is Rick Taylor. I'm Stockholm.
What was that? Your address?
And I consider this a conflict of interest. I consider this Mr. Fowler. You were refused, you were denied the variance before, and now you become part of the town board in order for you to get your way here, because you thought you had done this without permitting. And I don't think that that's right. I think it's a bad influence upon the rest of the township. And it's not a precedent that I want to see. I'm sorry, sir. I think you really maybe should resign. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak? You can have a minute.
Okay. Jennifer Bates, at 743 Nicholas Drive. I just wanted to confirm that in the stipulation that was attached to the special exemption report, it does say business hours for on-premises tastings will be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. off sales will be allowed until 6 p.m. daily. And also, I just wanted to rebuttal what Mr. Fowler said about everyone supporting him at first. My understanding at first was that he was going to make wine, and it was going to be for sale at liquor stores, restaurants, not that it was going to become this whole tasting on-site premises, special event things. So I just think it's important to clarify. That was my position. Thanks.
Jim Foster, 993 Scott Road. One other thing, Mr. Fowler is correct. 2019, he applied for a building permit to make a winery, just like he said. And in that, he went into detail of the fact that he was never going to have tastings. He was just going to be making wine. The next notification we had was he was putting in a pool. Nowhere in that building permit does it say anything about a tasting room. We've been in a lawsuit with him for 5 years because he kept kicking the can down the road. All you're here tonight is to consider a home-based business, not the special exception, just a home-based business, and you need to consider that as part of what you're considering. The special exceptions are those things that he'll have to come back to the planning commission each time he's going to have one.
I really don't want to say more, but I do want to submit petition of support signed by 6 neighbors that didn't speak here tonight. Also 4 letters from people in our neighborhood. I know there's precedent on that. We have that with boosters. So I'd like to give this to the clerk to make part of the record. Thank you.
Greg Schaefer, 747 Nicholas Drive. Again, I want to reiterate, I don't know how this stipulation plays into the proceedings, but when you look at the vague language in here, and some that is not so vague, it is troubling that you sign this document and all of a sudden this becomes the law as written, right? And you lose all other forms of restrictions. So, yes, this specifically says he can sell off-site sales to 10 p.m. If you sign this document, he can sell it legally up to 10 p.m. His intent may be different than what's written in here. This needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be written specifically to Wisconsin state statute, to your zoning ordinances, not this very nebulous type stipulation. Thank you.
I just want to speak in reference to the amount of alcohol served. I own the busiest chiropractic clinic in town. I treat a lot of people. I know a lot of people that have gone to his winery, and they have left intoxicated. So, if you look at his pictures, I believe a serving is supposed to be 1 ounce. If you look at his picture that I have one on my phone, just from this past weekend, them holding up nearly full glasses of wine. There is not limited consumption. And this plays a role in his character, how vague he is on the material, or what he's saying he's going to do, but what he wants is right is totally different. So take that into consideration. He can say one thing, but once it's on paper, you're stuck with that. And now we set a precedence. Anybody can open up a winery in the neighborhood if you allow fathers to do this. So take that into consideration too.
Does anyone else wish to make a comment? Does anyone wish to make a comment? Then I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Just making sure. And you can answer later.
Can I take another comment?
Can I ask a question?
Unless you reopen.
The only question I have, Teresa, can Paul tell us what the state allowed? Because it's confusing to the audience what the state allowed him to do versus a home-based business that we would normally.
Can you turn on your microphone for me to be able to pass that thing?
That's, it's called,
Get a little closer.
the state changed the liquor laws to allow more waiting activity and finance.
Gotta get closer.
And one, and I don't want to go into a lot of details, but one of the things that was negotiated was to limit Mr. Fowler's rights under state law that we otherwise could enforce. And in that stipulation, there's restrictions of what he can and can't do in terms of one of the major ones was applying for other liquor licenses, which now, under the new alcohol laws, wineries can do. And the town certainly didn't want a quote-unquote bar out there. And the other types of alcohol, other than the wine that is produced. So I don't know if that answers your question, but some of the rationale.
So they can serve wine by the glass, by state law. And I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that. Didn't have anything to do with the home-based business.
So you're saying it allows consumption by the glass, beyond tastings, because this is stipulation specific says tastings.
It says it's going to operate. It says what it says. We're not going to debate it. No, we're not going to need a commission. We're having this conversation.
Well, have a planning commission staff report.
The other meeting's closed.
I have a question regarding this still. So he's going through the process of applying for this license to be able to do what he wants to do. Should he be allowed to be doing it now? We had a tasting on Sunday, advertising. He's posting hours, posting more tastings. If he is not licensed to, if he does not have his permission to do it now, why is he able to? Why is he not receiving more fines for that? So that's something that's really important is that
I close the meeting, we can't take any more questions. Sorry.
Now that the public meeting is closed, I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting on May 6, 2025. The time will be 5:37 p.m. Please take off your hat and rise for pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. Now, we have a lengthy agenda tonight. We may not go in order. I know that Mr. Mahler has another meeting to go to, so we probably will jump around a little bit. But we'll start with the consent agenda. Is there any items that the board would like to pull and discuss?
I'll make a motion to approve consent.
I'd like to remove one item from the consent agenda as an operator license. And I just describe it as any operator's license where their application includes military line for the last 5 years.
Since Mr. Hill's motion wasn't seconded before your request, we will remove that item. the floor. Dan.
Yeah, I just think that in that kind of a situation, that we should have the applicant come in and address the board. So I would agree to approve the others, but that one, that candidate should be addressed by the board.
Just so we have our minutes clear, do you have the person's name?
The name is Anna Marie Brown.
All right, so is that a motion then to approve the consent agenda, including the operator's licenses, except for Anna Marie Brown, who we'd like to have present?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? On to committee reports.
I think you made a mistake. It's Kimberly Brown. It's not.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to, we might want to figure out what needs to be, the motion might be brought back.
But it's not showing up, so we want. So just have to come to the next meeting.
So as I understood the motion, you were approving everyone except for the one in question, and we all know who you're talking about, so we can correct that in the minutes. Is that fair? All right, now on to committee reports, chairman report. First of all, I'm very honored to be here. I'm new. I don't promise you that I'm not going to make mistakes, because I'm going to. So I just ask you to bear with me as we transition. One of the things that I've learned about the chairman's job so far is that there's lots of calls for potholes and removal of things in ditches. And so I think I've removed 2 bicycles from ditches and probably had about 6 complaints for potholes to be filled. Rest assured, all those things will get done. And I have to say, unfortunately, that I do think the transition so far has not been smooth. There was a period where our clerk took vacation during an important time. I was unaware of it, not told of it. I don't think that's appropriate, but that's for another day. So my transition is not yet complete because I've got a lot of unanswered questions. So I will get to those as we do it. The last thing I'll say before we move on to the rest of the large agenda is that I do intend to use Robert's Rules of Order. Rest assured to the elected officials, no one will be denied a chance to speak, so please just let me know and we'll get through that. For staff, I do ask that you be recognized. We're not going to have a free-for-all of opinions for non-elected officials. That's not going to happen anymore. All right, that's all I have to say for now.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to move number 18 up because it seems most of the people here are here for the one meeting.
I can't take part in that, so Mr. Bill, you are now in charge. I'll second that. All right. So I can't participate in this portion.
You want to call a question there?
Rachel?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Yes. Discussion, action on Fowler line special exception.
I have a copy of his application. Of course, I can't find it right now. It's not in 18. I'm not sure where it is.
17, so
It's in 19? 17. Okay, so we as a board decided that incomplete applications would not even be brought to the board. This application is incomplete. And our agreement was that he was going to go through all the channels that any other home business would have to go to. So I myself cannot approve this. It's not complete. We don't approve it for other people, we can't make special exceptions.
From what I see, the fees haven't been paid either.
I beg your pardon?
The fees have not been paid for the application.
And I believe if his wife is a co-owner, she also has to be on here.
I would like to speak with the presiding chair, you're not the chair, but, we had discussion that there was not to waive the fees. So therefore, that's why those fees are probably not paid, because that was part of our discussion for this exception permit for a home-based business, is that we were going to waive those fees.
I also agree, we've put restaurants, bar owners for these applications. It's supposed to be filled out early. This is not, it wasn't even a half attempt at filling it out. We put the emporium, for example. How many times has he had to come back because stuff wasn't filled out? It's not filled out. Look at it. There's no plans for anything on it. Parking, for traffic, storage inside out.
I would just say one thing. We all sat here, and we negotiated, and it was, one of the things was waiving the fee. The other was not requiring everything in that application, except in the event that he would apply for a special event permit or special event.
Was that
In
last-
those cases, all that information would be required.
Was that the last meeting, the working session? Close, was that close or not?
It was both.
I don't remember saying.
I was absent from that meeting, so at this point, I can't support any of this.
I remember saying we were gonna waive fees because he wanted us to pay some legal fees that he had. He wanted the town to pay, so we came to an agreement.
This is cost the town thousands,
Yeah.
thousands, and tens of thousands of dollars.
We
And
came
you couldn't pay a $250 fee. He's a lawyer.
Mr. Bill,
I would never agree to this.
I understand that you weren't here. There was a lot of negotiation going on. And that was part of the negotiation, was to waive those fees. And I would like to reiterate that during these discussions, when and if Mr. Fowler applies for a special exception for possibly 6 events. Special events. He has to fill out those forms. And that there is the time where we're going to have a lot more teeth. Because he has got to follow what, just like the car shows, when they fill out that form, that's where we say yay, nay, to whatever it is. But that does not have to do with this permit. Those are two different things, and I think we're confusing the two. This is the exception permit for a home-based business, period. This is not about the special exception events. Am I correct?
This is also a settlement, nothing like litigation. There are risks on both sides. And if the board wants to blow up that settlement, it goes back and forth. And then the town, and Mr. Fowler will continue to spend thousands of dollars, and the town could lose, which could open up his rights under current alcohol laws more than what is allowed in this proposed settlement. So It was voted unanimously. Right?
Ken, the state of Wisconsin has opened up, unfortunately. They have opened up what a winery can do now. They can sell other people's wine, they can apply for a permit to sell whiskey, beer, whatever. And that was a non-starter. This board was not having that. So this was part of the decision that we came to was Mr. Fowler agreed not to ever apply for any of those. So he will never be able to sell anybody else's wine, any whiskey, any beer. And the state of Wisconsin is the one that did this to us, not us. The state of Wisconsin did it to us.
I would just like to say, so the audience know, we hashed this out for a little over 3 hours, and we came to a good understanding between ourselves and Mr. Fowler. The problem first of all, let me assure you, all of this has been addressed. All the parking on the roads and everything has been addressed. That will not happen anymore.
But there's to address the traffic and the cars coming in.
So, the state of Wisconsin kind of dictates what he can and cannot do. So we're limited, but we came up with a good agreement with Mr. Fowler in good faith and trust, mutual trust. My problem is when this is filed, when Vicki files this away and it's not filled out, and he's the town chair, and then somebody else comes in and we deny their application because it's not filled out, what do we say? Oh, well, the town chair doesn't have to fill it out. I mean, that's my issue. Because we do have, everything is spelled out. I mean, everything, the whole agreement is spelled out. And it's a good agreement, it's fair. And we took care of the neighborhood in the best possible way that we could.
And the answer to that question is that this is part of the legal settlement, the litigation that's been going on, the citations that are issued by the town for years. So this was an end.
But didn't we say he had to go through and fill out an application?
The terms of that agreement would be incorporated into a home-based business permit. And that's what we're doing. That will set the rules for the town and the one going forward. So the town can enforce that permit based on what is written there.
But you're not following your own procedure per your special exemption form. Read it.
It does sound a little extra special for your
It does sound
chair.
very
And
special.
there's a lot of good things in there. I don't even know how many board members are up there getting some free wine from them.
None. That would be zero.
There's two different things. There is the legal side of this with the stipulation in the court, and then there's the special exemption. I am looking at your special exemption permit procedures that the form specifically says these things have to be met, and you are not following that.
And it's going to the basis.
Can I make a comment? I sat in that hearing. I don't remember, and if you read it, there's nothing in that stipulation that says he's allowed to have 6 special exceptions.
Special events.
Special events, we waived the fee, but we did not allow him to get it just as a home-based business. So all you're here, if I understand it right, is to get a home-based business, and any time in the future that he mounts one of those special events, he has to come in and apply for it.
Yes, he does.
Since we've devolved into a free-for-all, I want to have the opportunity to speak. And I want to say right now that your partner and yourself, we talked about what we would do is specifically attach to the application that it would serve for it. I had a later communication with Mr. O'Brien, who said yes, all that would suffice was taping that in there. It's not nefarious, but it was agreed upon by council. Thank you.
just have one more thing to address here. Mr. Fowler, you and I run in the same circles, and this is really hurtful here, because I've always told you this is not personal. Make sure you locally zone properly, and we'll give you the necessary permits. This is imperative. I've been in a battle with my township who are a bunch of assholes. You can message me if you want. I'd be happy to share at least my experience. So people can call you and you can tell them what kind of assholes we are. I've never been bad to you. I've even advocated for you at times, and am I an asshole?
I think we hashed out at the session how some of the treatment was perceived, and I think we're past that point. I think,
Okay,
if we're not, you know, Mr. Muller's got the right answer. Then we go back to court, and, you know, the public's not aware that there's a statute of limitations issue that is not in your favor. We could go down that road.
We've been sending letters for years.
No, you have to get order.
Yeah, I got to call up to order.
And you guys are making the assumption that Fowler is an honest guy.
I got to call the meeting to order, so no more comment from the audience.
And there would be no more comments if you would recuse yourself, so that the board.
Sir, I think you're confused. I think you're confused.
Step the chair.
I'm not a proper follower. I'm not proper. Siri thinks I am. Here. Hey, do I have a motion? Or is there more?
Maybe I should make one last comment here. So, yeah, I just want to clarify, you know, again, you know, what was said here in terms of there's two pieces to this. One is the business itself, the wine business. And then there's the home-based business. We have a lot of home-based businesses, you know, in the town. And our rules as far as home-based businesses are that, you know, it essentially has to, you know, be low impact. And there's other rules too, in terms of family, just family employees and that sort of thing. Anyway, the thing is that the other side, the side that has the winery involved, when we started this out, the law wasn't even the same as it is right now with the state of Wisconsin. As our attorney pointed out here, the law has been expanded, and Susan has also pointed out, the law has been expanded. And so what we're doing is we entered into an agreement where Mr. Fowler would restrict his privileges under state law. So he's actually following state law, but he's agreed that he will restrict his activities below that the state allows within his licensing. Now, in some cases, you know, none of this situation, you know, whenever you're into a lawsuit type of situation, nobody's exactly happy. Because, you know, what happens is it comes down to a compromise. And what we've done what we think is the best, what we can do for the community. And we've entered into an agreement, and as our attorney has spoken right here, you know, we agreed to these terms, and we will follow them. And to clarify what Mr. Foster has said here, in there, it allows up to a maximum of 6 events, no more than 6 events, but each event has to be specifically applied for with all of the terms, you know, that are necessary for that type of thing. So, you know, there isn't a carte blanche or approving, you know, any kind of event actually at this point. We're just approving a home-based business, which basically says, you know, he has to have, you know, parking off-site, and the things that are kind of specific to that. But I don't want to get into all of the elements of it, but
Dan. And just so everybody, to assure everybody, there is no more parking on the road. His tastings are limited, he said, to 4 to 6 people. Anybody, if they don't fit in his driveway, they don't come unless they have a special event permit. He is also allowed to have private parties just like everybody else in this room. And he would not need a permit for that. If it's his family, friends, things like that, he would not need a permit. Now, all of us, I have parties all the time. I mean, if he parked all the way down the country, you know, I mean, we all do it. But he still has that right too. Well, no, I'm not a business, but I'm saying that Mr. Fowler has a right to also have family and friends over, graduation parties, whatever, just not public events.
That's every day of the week, so that's 7 days a week.
No, he's.
So the thing you laid out allows him to do that on a regular basis.
Yes, he's allowed to by the law to do that.
So,
You can restrict that.
and you can restrict that. We talked to Shannon Zimmerman personally. He said ultimately the township has the rule. They can approve or disapprove depending on their zone.
And until
If he's not zoned for this, if he wants to produce his wine, make his wine, that's fine. But to have an off-sale liquor store,
Okay, let's get back to the board. Do we have a motion on this?
I make a motion that we approve the application for Robert Fowler's home business as per the agreement that we hashed out for 3.5 hours with our attorneys. If our attorney says it's okay, that the application is not complete, then I will trust him.
I'll second your motion.
Can I interject, please? St. Croix County has put out there that any zoning applications have to be signed by all persons on the deed, and this one is not. And I'm throwing that at you, Paul, because they're very clear that all persons on the deed have to sign the application. And in this case, that's not the case. No, it's a state law under for zoning. It's all applications have to be signed by all members, all persons on the deed. Because you can't make a zoning change to your property if the other person doesn't agree. Well, is it a big deal for his wife to sign this?
It's in a motion and a second.
Right, I'm just throwing that out for discussion. Nothing to worry.
I would just say that she's here, just let her come and sign it. Oh, okay.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. What's that? I'm going to abstain from this vote. Being as though I was not present at this 3.5 hour meeting. And I don't agree with the citizens, so therefore I'm going to abstain. So there, those all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, moving on to the rest of the agenda. Discussion action on comparable wage study results from the position of town clerk and deputy clerk.
I think we skipped number 5.
What's that?
Number 5. Just general public comment, I think we skipped that.
Yes, I did skip number 5. because We only have Paul here for a little bit, and he's needed for this next one.
Gotcha.
So, I just wanted to mention that we don't have an HDMI cable to connect to study. And it was very important for me that public see this. And without it, I would move that we table number 6, 7, and 8 until the next board meeting. Because I can't display it to the public.
I would ask that you speak about me because I'm not going to be here at this next meeting. I need to be present.
All right. 6, 6, 7 in June. And so part of what the ultimate recommendation of the wage study that I put out there is that we need to meet with our legal counsel in private to talk about potential contract issues and potential litigation consequences, etc. So I guess there's not been a second on any of these motions, so I would make a new motion. For item 6, I would move that we table it to a closed session meeting with council. I'd like council to draft the notice so it meets the statutory requirements to discuss potential litigation, potential discipline of the town clerk. Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, on what grounds should she be disciplined?
Well, I don't know if you read your packet.
I read all the information.
Okay.
Her vacation was approved by the chairman like 10 months ago.
But was I notified of that change?
Did you ever, after you were elected, call them or walk into the office and ask them what you're supposed to do? Or what's going on, or?
Multiple times. In fact, I emailed the clerk 6 important items that I needed an answer to, and I had to come to town hall and ask where Ms. Shaw was. And then staff was the one who informed me that there may have been an approved vacation. I asked, put it this way, I'm a public employee too, and I have to tell Mr. Anderson that I'm going on vacation. And it was an important time that caused some inefficiency for me to be able to do my job. But more importantly, item 6 is talking about the salary study that was conducted. Now, the salary study is, luckily because of my background, I saved us about $5 grand. That's what those cost. Okay? And it's important to know what we're spending our money on, and I just want to table it to be able to show the public, who is our constituents, who we care about, what we're spending our public money on. And I would like to do that in June, and I would like to also have a closed session meeting with our attorneys to talk about these potential contract issues. So really, it's 2 separate things. Right, I just said they're 2 separate things.
May I ask a question?
You may.
Paul, with closed session, they're allowed to be at those closed session meetings because it's discussing their employment, is that correct?
Well, that's a good question. And it depends on what's going to be discussed. There's 2 types of closed sessions related to employment. There is performance review sessions, which the individual doesn't necessarily have there.
Okay.
There is closed sessions that could relate to disciplinary actions. Those, the individual has the right to be there. They also have the right to have those discussions in open session. Then there's another closed session for litigation. That's a separate.
I just want to make sure I understand.
Three different things. It all depends on what's going to be discussed.
So, Paul, can you clarify, we've received 3 or 4 emails from the chairman in the last week, which I appreciate that he's communicating with us. But because we're talking about town business and stuff, isn't that a violation of open meetings laws?
Well,
Because that's a quorum.
the open meeting law is violated. You can disseminate information one way. That's fine. Where you have an issue is when you have responses back. And you have 2-way communication. You have communication. Someone's here, she's there, it goes here. That is the problem. Just like in the best cases, the clerk typically sends things out, and the information is funneled through the clerk, so you don't have the problem that board members discussing. That's the issue. A board member can just send stuff out.
I can send an email out to the board and talk about an agenda item,
I would like.
if, as long as they don't come back to me, get back to me.
And it was explained, I think, at the last, one of the last meetings, that one way to prevent that is when you put on the emails, this is a one-way communication, and please do not respond so as not to do an open meeting violation. If I recall, that was your exact quote.
Never recall.
Right.
We have always gone through the clerk. That's why I am asking, because we've always kind of been told, no, we don't communicate with each other outside of open meetings where the public can be there.
You have to be careful, because it's easy to respond back. You know, you almost feel obligated to sometimes.
And
That's where the problem is.
And especially when we may have a potential issue with our clerk, they should not be copied for those exact same reasons that may result in a proper closed session. So, you know, I don't think there was anything.
Just the fact that we're even discussing employment issues right now, or publicly, isn't that an issue? I mean, the whole town knows that he has an issue with the clerk and he wants to fire her. So I got an email stating he wants to fire
We're
her.
getting a little off topic. We were talking about whether that.
No, we didn't.
On the legislature.
We're
I
discussing.
got an email today saying he wants to fire her, and we're discussing that publicly. Shouldn't that be in a closed session? The whole town knows that he wants to fire her. You want to fire her. That was the email I got today.
And I don't have a problem saying that too, but the point is, we have steps to take. We need to show.
Yeah, the steps are.
You're interrupting me.
We're going to.
I have
Okay,
the floor.
point of order. Get a point of order here, we're arguing back and forth.
I have the floor. So I put this on for a wage discussion because the data shows when we look at our comparable towns that we are paying over 2.2 times going rate that data supports. And it is causing us a waste of taxpayer dollars. That's separate from the disciplinary issues. I sent a one-way communication today and asked that you see it so that you are aware of what's going on. Would you prefer that I not send you information as to what's going on? Because I honestly, I'll tell you why I was concerned about this. We had what was supposed to be Stormageddon here a couple Monday nights ago. When we had a clerk that was gone, I didn't know where she was. Nobody told me that she was on vacation. And that means we had a big problem. I was on my own being chair for a week. Okay, and that's a big deal. So, you know, it's concerning to me.
Well, you were elected.
And as
There was
chairman,
plenty of time to go in and see them.
as chairman, you should have read the state statute. I mean, I'm chairman. I mean,
I did.
you have
I was
duties.
not allowed, I did not get access or a key to the building until 8:50.
You have duties.
I
Roads
still
are,
don't have a key.
roads are your duties. Emergencies are your duties. I mean,
What does this have to do with wages?
You brought in the wage discussion.
Well, I brought in that I wanted to go into closed session for a number of reasons. And if we're going to go into a closed session, we might as well be efficient with our attorney time because that costs money. Okay? So, my motion is that we table item 6 until June. Is there a second?
Delayed until item 6 until June, I'm fine with that.
I'll take that as a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 7.
I was a no.
Number 7. All those in favor of tabling, excuse me, I make a motion to table discussion on operation of hours of town hall until the June meeting.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Item 8. And will we table this until the July meeting?
You'll be here in July.
I know, when is that meeting?
July 3rd or whatever it is.
Is there a
I
second?
second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, number 9, Mr. Mueller, I believe. 15 minutes to spare. Item 9, discussion for a special event permit for Festival Foods Turkey Trot on November 27th, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the turkey trot. I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Can you vote on the line?
Sure. At this point in time, we'll do public comment. Everybody can speak to items that are not on the agenda. So is there anyone who wishes to make any public comment?
Jim Foster, I think you misunderstood what Dan wanted to do. You normally don't table things as parliamentary to postpone it if you've got to take it off the table. How do you put it on the agenda if you're tabling it? You misspoke and did that.
Any further public comment? Hearing none. Item 10, discussion on changing the date of the August meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to move on. You know, August move on. I work for Congressman Tiffany, and we have a mandatory working retreat that first week in August. The DC team all comes out, and we do business tours and such. So I would like to have it approved to maybe move the August meeting to the second Tuesday as opposed to the first Tuesday.
I make a motion to move our August meeting from August 5th to August 12th to accommodate.
I'll second. Any further discussion?
I'm fine with it, but I don't want to make practice with it.
Any further discussion?
I would do it if we can.
Yeah, I know, I'm one time, but I don't want to make it practice. That's all I got.
Number 11.
We didn't go.
Oh, sorry. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Number 12, discussion action resolution. I'm sorry, number 11, discussion action committee commission appointments. Before we start this, I have a question. Don't we have a first responder committee that was voted on last year?
Yes, but we don't have a contract on it right now, so we have to wait for them to get the contract in order to see what it is. Because right now, there is no first responders.
All right. Well, let's take these one at a time. Next, territorial committee. We have Susan Blank, Tim Foster, Ken Hill, and Dan Foster. Is anybody aware of anybody else who expressed interest on that? Tim Foster, Ken Hill, and Dan Foster are up for reappointment.
What is an extraterritorial?
Yeah, it's board members that, and it doesn't mean very often.
It's board members.
Yeah, we used to be, we haven't met for quite a while, I think, because
I think the last time was on the cell tower on the corner of A.
part of
Denny's Army was still alive.
It was 2010.
2010.
Yeah, territorial. The city comes out fast.
also, I don't think the city wants to talk to us.
Well, I guess I would make a motion, since Tim Foster's not on board, that does anybody want to be on this besides me? So that leaves Dan, or me, or sorry, that leaves Rachel and me. Would you like to do it, Rachel? If it ever comes up?
If it ever comes up.
Right, I'd make a motion that we approve Susan Lang, Rachel Lang, Ken Hill, and Dan Foster Lang as the alternate for the extraterritorial commission. Is there a second? Any discussion?
Second.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Board of Adjustment, Mr. John Boots and Ann Reiner as the alternate are up for reappointment. Does anybody know of any other interest that was submitted for this position? Hearing none, I move we reappoint John Boots and Ann Reiner to the Board of Adjustment.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Planning Commission. We did receive some interest from people that expressed in writing. We have interest from David Meyer, interest from Anthony Cabruzzi for reappointment, and interest from Chris Jordan.
I don't see their names on here.
It's
So that's it.
page, if you flip to the next 2 pages,
Next 2 pages.
well, while we're getting at that, I would be in favor of appointing Dave Meyer to the Planning Commission, and I'll tell you why. Dave Meyer is a former professional baseball player. He has worked on construction of athletic complexes and fields. I think that he will be a valuable asset as we have a very important athletic complex coming to before the Planning Commission. I think it'd be great to have somebody with some prior experience in that specific area so that we can create a really, he has experience with this. He's a longtime resident, lives on Walter Farm. So my motion would be to appoint Dave Meyer in place of Tony Cabruzzi. Is there a second?
Expressed interest in continuing.
He has not.
And Tony DeBruzzi did email, and his email, he would like to continue.
Are we looking for just one person?
He wouldn't be good. No, we're looking for Clint too. Clint, since he was put on the Planning Commission in December of 2021, has been at 41% of the meetings.
How many people are we looking to appoint though? That's my question.
Two. Tony Cabruzzi.
If they're not replaced, yes, if Tony, if we would replace him, then but definitely, like you said, that's not.
Clint has been to 41% of the meetings. I got a document that shows it, but I think they should print it before I came in.
So I guess if we're not for it.
So,
You have a motion on the floor in 1 second.
Yes.
So we can move on to a new motion.
Well, no, if we're entertaining 2 people, my concern is getting Tony DeBruzzi back on board because he's done a good job.
But what I'm saying is, we don't have a second, so we can't discuss it. We should have a second, or he withdraws the motion.
I'll withdraw my motion. My understanding from the procedure is that there is no second motion. As is. So
I'll make a motion to appoint Tony Cabruzzi to the board.
I'll second.
all right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Then I would move to appoint Dave Meyer to the Planning Commission in place of Ken Heckler.
I will second that.
Any further discussion? I just want to say that I think that we do need some subject matter expertise on some of these things, and I think Dave and I are really good at it. Any further discussion?
I too would like to keep track on the planning commission as far as their attendance, because it is important how often they show up. I
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Dave Meyer to the Planning Commission signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, I think that takes care of item 11. Line of succession, resolution 2025-2, line of succession. We have here in our books, I'm assuming this is by, can somebody fill me in, this is by tenure, principal? So Mr. Hill, you're the next, most in order. Very good. So for the public, so that you're aware, the emergency government ordinance then in order would be Robert Fowler, Ken Hill, Dan Fosterling, Susan Blank, and Rachel Lang. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-2, line of succession.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I would just comment that this is not necessarily an order of tenure, but I am satisfied with this.
I understand you had a prior term, and so you're not getting credit for your prior term, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any objection? No. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing the motion?
Is there a resolution of roll call?
All right, we'll do roll call.
Paulson.
Yes.
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
You answered for me.
Oh, I thought you said Lang.
Lang.
Oh, I answered for, you said Lang. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes. Fowler.
Yes.
Can you sign that, please?
Yes.
So I can send that to the emergency government.
You want me to pass this? For everybody to do? You would like? All right. Item 14, discussion and affirmation on 2025 SLFRF report.
What happened to 13?
Scott Road, sorry. I'm circling these and I see it. So, okay, 13, discussion action on Scott Road. Updated road construction estimate.
So the road estimate went from 350, which was approved, and it's now 374, 675.
Is that done to the engineering?
Yes, because of the whole drop in the pavement on this east side, and then at the intersection, what they're not going to be in here.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the investments for Scott Road build, engineering and construction at $374,675.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 14, SLFRF compliance report.
That's just showing you the ARPA funds have all been reported into the treasurer.
I make a motion that we approve the 2025 SLFRF report.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
16, 15. Yes. 15, the audit. My motion that we send the audit back, there was a couple of addition, subtraction mistakes that were, I think, noticed by both myself and Mr. Fosterling. I did try to call them and ask questions about that, and I have not received a response. And that was last Thursday. So,
Put it on the June agenda.
we can put it on the June agenda, but for
If it's not ready, we'll just keep moving it until then it's done.
so move to postpone until June.
That's fine, you don't, I'll just move it to June.
Very
There's
good.
no action on it.
We can keep these right here, so I can contact them.
and you'll have to give it back at some point, because I don't have enough copies for the folder.
All right.
Number 16, discussion action on filming town board meetings and proposal to pay Steve Hudson a stipend of $40 per meeting day to record and provide a link to the town and be placed on the town's website. I think it's really important to be transparent and to give people information who can't make meetings. I know that a lot of people in this day and age rely on going to the web to get their information, it's not free for him to come and bring his equipment. We would have to buy our own equipment to do this. I think it's a cost-effective way to do it. I think that he's been doing it and doing a good job. He posts a link to his YouTube channel. We don't need to spend a lot of money on this by, creating storage or data. We can just simply link to it. And I think it'd be a good service to the public to be able to look at these meetings at their leisure. And many, if not all, larger areas, municipalities, et cetera, do this. And so I think it's an investment that's a core function of government. I think it increases citizen transparency. And I would make a motion to pay Steve Hermson a stipend of $40 per meeting day. So in other words, if there are 2 meetings such as tonight, it would be one $40 fee per meeting day. Likewise for the planning commission, that's 1 meeting day. To record and provide a link to the town that will be placed on the town's website. That's my motion. On a second.
How much would this equipment
Just
cost?
a minute. You're already filming here tonight at no cost.
I'm sorry, you're not recognized. You're on.
As part of the staff,
You're not
I'm telling you, you're being
recognized.
recorded.
You're not at the floor.
Well, maybe the board would like to hear that.
Okay, well, then I'll say it. We are being recorded right now. These videos can be transferred to something secure. I don't want to pay someone to put videos on a YouTube channel when we have an IT staff or contractor that can take care of this stuff for us and make sure that the data is secure and it gets put on the web appropriately. I just think it may be more expensive, but that's the way that all towns and cities do things. They're not going to pay just some private citizen to come and record us and put it on. I'm not against the recording part. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for that. I've watched his videos, but I think it should be done through the town, through the town, and not a private citizen.
Understood. So the question my comment to that would be this. So I just approved a bill today to pay the IT. It's $140 an hour for the IT rate. So again, I'm looking for a cost-effective solution. $40 seems like a pretty fair and reasonable amount for somebody who's already going to be here anyway doing it. And Mr. Ernst is here if we have any questions for him. I think it's and I will say I've been aware of other websites on towns or whatever link to, say, the turkey trot, for example. It doesn't have to be some security thing, right? You can put links to anything, right? So what I would be concerned about is actually spending the money on data storage. If we do store video, those megabytes get added fast. And again, I know the rate that we're paying our IT people, and that can be expensive. So all I'm trying to do is do a cost-effective solution that gives the public, when they go to the town website, so that they can see it, so they don't have to hunt out Mr. Hermanson's video channel.
I would like to hear what Teresa has to say.
Go ahead.
Well, what happens here is that you can videotape this on your Apple, and you can download it on your website. You have a limited time frame that you have to hold on to those meetings, and you have plenty of storage in your server. And once you download it, the difference between having it on a YouTube channel and having it under the auspices of the office is the offices that are controlling that video. You put it on YouTube, anybody can download and anybody can change it. The Thomas St. Joseph went through this 3 years ago, where we had people doing exactly what he's doing, videotaping our meetings, dropping them into YouTube and changing them, so that we made a motion to do one thing and it showed that the vote was something else because they clipped it all together. If you do this, which is what we do, we put it on our website at the meeting portal. It'll show the agenda, the minutes, and the video. So you can see it and you know that it is not able to be changed because it's under the fingertips of the clerk's office. And you don't pay extra. There's plenty of storage for that. And after a year, except for your budget hearing and your annual meeting and your board review and your public hearings, everything can get deleted. It doesn't stay forever. So you're not baking on all that stuff forever.
So how do we get it from there
That's
onto our website?
We just drop it in.
So you guys can do that?
Yeah, no problem.
I know you don't really have much else to do.
I'd like to get,
Teresa, does that also include, you know, video?
Yes.
I know it doesn't
We
include
video
something.
tonight because no one asked us
It's
to
audio
video.
and video.
So the board has not asked us to video. So he put it on the agenda, so we videoed tonight. It's a little too close, it should have been back here. But that can just get, when we drop the meeting in, we can drop the video with it. It's not a problem.
we did it during COVID.
Yeah, we did during COVID.
I mean, this is why cities have IT departments, and I just think it should be in-house. I'm not against the videos, I guess they have to watch those videos. I just think it should be in-house, and yeah, I think it's a good idea to put it on the website.
Okay, then, again, can we
On the website.
get this done for the planning commission as well?
You can.
To get this from,
Absolutely.
And I think we should, if we're doing this, we should do this.
Does this, so I moved the table a little bit closer today because I was hoping that it HDC. As we move it back, one of the nice things about this, he's got is back there. You can see everything. That's
You'll be able to
This
see it.
one does that, and that is also when I'm talking about,
It's on him.
we're talking, it's on you. We did it during all, and we're great.
I just don't think we ever put the links on there.
The board didn't ask for that, and so, you know, it would have been nice to have this discussion with staff, who would have understood what we were trying to do here. It would make more sense.
But didn't you bring up a public, like the public records? I mean, we are the keeper of the records. When we recorded, it's ours. When he recorded, of course, it's not ours. So if somebody does an open records request,
They're gonna go to his personal email.
right, and then we can't have that in the municipality. If we own the records of the town,
Well, putting a link doesn't make us responsible for where the link goes.
it's our website.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Trust me, once you click on it, you go to another website.
Not if we download the video from this to our website, that's ours.
So if he downloads it and puts it on the web, it's ours.
But we didn't take the video, is the point she's trying to make.
No, but if
An
we-
outsider took the video.
I'm sure we have links to outside places right now. It doesn't make the receiving data place our data. It's a link. It travels that way. But you know what? Here's the ultimate thing. I think my main point was I wanted to be able to show, you know, videotape this to have the public see it. So how we get to A to B, and if it's free practically because we can just push a button, wonderful. So I'll withdraw my motion. Do you want to make a motion that reflects what you want there?
I'll make a motion, we record the meetings using our technology, assistance of our IT company. Got the links and where the videos are posted on the website.
How long do
Including the planning commission, you want, right?
Including the planning commission.
We want board review and any meetings,
Yeah, we can do public hearings.
or okay.
I'm not sure that we can address this because it's really not on the agenda. The agenda item specifically represents Steve Harmson's proposal, which I think that we should vote down.
You're probably right.
And then take this particular issue up in our next meeting, put it
motion to postpone it till June? Hearing none. All those
I should have added that motion, like I said, before you tell me and put it out on the website.
Well, and generally speaking,
That's a future agenda, right?
and generally speaking, if something is germane or related, it's not that big of a tangle. So we'll definitely be able to talk about it in June. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All right, discussion of first responders and change of medical direction. Do we have anybody here from the first responders? Can you gentlemen please come up?
I'm James Penfield, the director of the first responder program.
Big record.
So I guess, thank you for being here. So we've had some discussions about, well, if you could just give everybody a summary of how the first responders works and what it is you're seeking to get with this change of medical direction.
The first responders are local residents who have medical training to a certain level that respond to incidents within the town, the village, or Hudson, prior to ambulances arriving and providing a truly first response for medical care. We came in, there was some confusion on the program. We came in for a board meeting on October 21st where the board voted to continue that program. We have a contract with Lakeview EMS that states they are going to provide medical direction. So our first responders are overseen by doctors. So the actions that we take, our licensure, the care we give is overseen by doctors, and that is called medical direction. We have to have medical direction in order to operate, which makes good sense for all of us. As of the meeting on the 21st, where the board voted to continue the program, shortly thereafter, I have a bit of time on me here, and I don't want to go too deep into the weeds if we don't need to, but on October 24th, we were notified by Lakeview that the medical director of record is no longer going to continue to provide that. Since October 24th, which is the time that we ceased responding to medical calls, since October 24th, Lakeview has still not provided medical direction. We have secured medical direction through a different emergency room doctor that oversees other emergency services. That doctor has agreed to provide medical direction for our organization. They're going to provide medical direction at no cost. We would certainly be subject to their rules and regulations as far as our medical practice goes, which is the same thing that we would see for Lakeview. We have been in communication at least monthly on the subject, and Lakeview has just basically said they are working on it, and I haven't got any progress there. So as I said, we have secured medical direction through Northwestern EMS. They have been approved to be able to provide that service to us through the state EMS agency.
Can you repeat the name of that?
Northwestern EMS, and it is Dr. Ace.
Dr. who?
Ace, ACE. She is accredited. She is already approved with the state. She is already approved with the state for other agencies. So the transition is approved by the state, and we just need approval from the board to make that change, and then we will proceed with our emergency medical care.
Question. If we continue with this service, have you looked at any other sources of funding?
We have looked into sources of funding. We have obtained grant funding from the state of Wisconsin. in the amount of, quick math here, $10,000 plus 15% support and improvement of $1,500 plus a training examination fee of $23.98. So approximately $14,000. Grant funding has been approved by the state and will be coming to the town to assist in the operation of the first responders.
So, first responders, so you, if you're able to, will hear a call come in through dispatch, and you will arrive potentially before any ambulance from Lakeland, correct?
Yes, correct.
Lakeview, sorry, Lakeview, which is not in our community, correct?
They are in our community. They're based out of Hudson Hospital.
Right, but that's over there, and you guys are in the...
Yeah, we are. This is staffed by folks who live in the area, and in some cases work in the area.
Does it affect, or negatively affect your relationship with Lakeview? Like, obviously, if something happens, you're going to get there first, and then the Lakeview ambulance is going to get there. Is there any?
I can't imagine there being any adverse effect there. Lakeview's had more than enough time to figure this out. I don't understand what the holdup is. There is another issue at stake here that there's an existing contract with Lakeview and the town. And it's very specific that they're going to provide medical direction. There's several bullet points that is agreed to in the contract, which in my opinion is to be honored. I don't believe there's going to be any bad blood with Lakeview. If they wanted to provide medical direction to us, I think that is a very easy thing. It should have been done a long time ago. So I can't imagine they're going to have any problem with us finding medical direction in another area.
Somebody else have any questions for that?
I mean, has Lakeview expressed any reason why they haven't approved, or assigned us as a director?
There's been language such as they are working on a contract, which I guess I'm not privy to any details regarding what that might look like. As I stated, there already is a contract, and it does specifically identify the first responders. So I guess I'm not sure what the contract language we're looking at is. They had made they had some concerns with the sustainability of the program, the first responder program, which we certainly need to add more people to this. However, we have people in place now to do it, and I think the sustainability of this program is a concern for me as the director and you as the town board. I think that is our concern, and I think it's something we should be working on. Funds from the state will help with that. In the past, we have had zero funding, so we're really kind of stuck where we are. Our current funding, the individuals who are providing the service provide their own medical equipment, radios, defibrillators, all of that. So we're looking to try to not only use some of the state funding, but perhaps ask for some funding from the town to augment this program and make it substantially more sustainable and more efficient. However, we've got to, I guess, start from the beginning here and get our medical direction in place, and then we'll start working towards some of these other areas.
Mr. Chair, only because of the years of experience that Tim has with us.
Go ahead, Mr. Foster.
He's right on all of those dates. And then I had a meeting with Lakeview EMS over at their building before Christmas. They said they were working, Matt Mallard from the regions was there, and they said they were going to work on a contract, and then I kept bugging them, they said they were working on other things. Most recently, before the election, I contacted John again because David contacted me and said, where are we at with that, John? And he said, we still don't have a contract. And then he stopped in and talked to Vicki at the clerk here, and I had to stop in here while he was here. He talked to the medical director that was at Regents, and the doctor wouldn't sign it. So I think we need to consider what's going to happen here. But I turned to John and I said, so do you want our first responders working on your patients? If you're not the medical director, I just want to make sure I understand this, John. And he said, I understand, but the contract still, we don't have a revised contract, which you're right on, and we need that. And the other thing you got to remember is that meeting when the board agreed to this was to create a committee. Since then, we found out that North Hudson doesn't want us in. So that committee was originally going to include North Hudson. And so that all that process still has to happen, and I agree with you, Jay. And maybe we have to get medical direction through them, through Dr. Hayes. I don't have any problem with that, but you still got to create the committee. I still think you need to have the contract with Lakeview that you guys are providing the service for. I still think you want to push Lakeview to pay for your education. I do. You know what I mean? And so that was in the contract. And he said in the last revision that I talked to him that they haven't issued yet. They would provide all of the training for you, and you would have to do it through wherever they were doing it. It would be free of charge.
Okay, we have a contract in place. And so all this talk about contract, I think what they're really saying, and this might be a point of confusion, is in the past, first responder agencies were required to affiliate, and that would maybe mean a contract with an ambulance agency. That is no longer a requirement, and the state EMS agency who oversees us has advised us that they recommend we do not affiliate or have a contract with the ambulance service because it allows them some management of our program. He said, you want the town management program, not the ambulance service. Our medical care is overseen by a doctor, which is our medical profession. So that the contract may be that affiliation contract. The state has advised us not to sign it.
So here's my biggest concern. You guys are willing and able to perform this service, right? And we are not doing it right now because the board hasn't authorized a different medical record, correct?
Correct.
And so we could have somebody tonight, if we don't act on this, that you potentially could have provided care to and helped someone.
Yes.
But we can't do that because right now, we don't have any medical record.
Can I speak, please?
Yes.
So I have the requirements from the state right in front of me now, okay? For emergency medical services and medical responders, individuals must fill out an application for the town of Hudson, submit state of Wisconsin certification as an emergency medical responder and any skill certifications, including individual coursework, a background check done by the town. The town will need a contract between the individuals and the town, a contract between the medical provider or director and the town with the direct supervisor, costs incurred for supplies, AEDs, filing of paperwork, reporting, the reporting is monthly reports by the responders to the town with calls and response times, monthly date and time reports on each responder, insurance coverage for liability, E&O, workman's compensation, and medical, agreement between the town and Lakeview Ambulance Service for the new medical provider or director, and integration between the direct supervisor, health partners, Lakeview Ambulance, and Hudson Fire. And then I would also like to ask Vicki's opinion on this.
We need to get, we don't have any information on first responders because it was through St. Croix EMS is how it all started. And it was all done through St. Croix EMS. And then, so we literally have nothing on first responders at all. And so now that the medical director for Lakeview will not sign off at Regions, the doctor won't sign off or whatever, so we need to get a new contract with Lakeview to try and, but we need the contract with the medical director that wants to take them on, and then we need to figure out who's their supervisor and who's going to track all their certificates, whatever, certifications and all that, and
who has, I have an email that says we are now good to go. We have medical director, all these other items, in their opinion, from the state EMS agency have been met. All of the licensure is being tracked, first of all, by me. And nobody at the town has asked me for any of that, which we're happy to provide. We're meeting the state level EMS guidelines. And in the opinion of our regional director, Don Kimmerka, who is in charge of our region for EMS, we are meeting all of their standards, and we are approved as a first responder agency in the eyes of the state. And since our medical direction was approved by them with Dr. Ace, in the opinion of the state, we are approved to provide medical care.
Are you willing to do this for the town now?
Of course.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Foster, didn't we already vote back in to have them as part?
Yeah, we were going to put a committee together, and all we were waiting for was from Lakeview and Regions.
So I guess my question is, was their background and everything all?
No, we didn't have, no, St. Croix EMS had all of that, and the contract that Jay refers to, that we got from them was way back in the point that it said they would provide no cost to the town of Hudson for first responders, and they take care of it. That's when Regions said, hold it, we don't want any responsibility for it. And then that October 21st period, Lakeview called Terry Anderson at the county and said, we don't want them picking up any more first responder calls. And that's when everything blew up.
Okay.
And that's when we had the meeting.
One comment when you mentioned we don't have any records of anybody's dissatisfaction. All of the people on our roster have to file with the state, file their credentials with the state, and then be approved to be added to our roster. So all of the documentation that we're talking about has already been completed. So each individual on our roster is registered with the state, their credentials are checked with the state, and they are approved to be a member of our organization, and this is at the stadium level.
Teresa.
So there's a problem here, that although you're approved by the state, you have to be covered by this town, because this is where you work. That means you're on your way to a call, and you smash into somebody, and they sue the town because you were on a call. Who's covering that? The town has to, and we don't have any information on you. I think you're trying to state that you are this entity over here by the state, but you have to be the entity in the town, and that's not happened.
Okay, I assumed it had happened.
Right.
It was in place. And we had
a driver's license.
We had a meeting in October where you approved this program, and I have no request for any information along these lines.
So
we're meeting the state requirements, which I think far supersede any town requirements.
This is taken directly from the state information that you have to provide to us. Because you're going out and making calls in this town, and you're liable under our insurance policy.
Yes.
I know that because I'm the chair of St. Joe, and I have first responders that are firefighters.
So what happened?
I am liable every time one of them gets in an accident.
So you were under Lakeview, is what we thought, just like you were under St. Croix EMS, and it turns out that's not how it went down, and then now, then it just snowballed on that. So now we need to get the information, because it's literally the town of Hudson that is responsible. So it's you 5 people right there that are responsible for the first responders.
I think if you're willing to do this, I don't see a problem.
And then this reporting has to come to the town because she has to file that report every year in July 1st. And she doesn't have any of that information from the last year.
One of the things that came up early on in discussions with this is what happens to you guys in an accident? Not always, but even when we were at St. Croix EMS, you don't talk about that. They're responsible for it. If they have an accident on the way, that's not what you want doing.
Well,
you're right. You need to have part of the town and then be part of them underneath that, Jay. You really do.
So
what do you do with a supervision issue? It's that members.
You asked me this question in last fall, and I answered the question, and I can answer it again here. And Dave can attest, there is a state statute that identifies what defines an emergency vehicle, and it also defines what the rules and regulations are for that. We are requiring our people to meet the standard with the vehicle equipment and then operate within that standard. That is the way the fire department does it, the first responders do it, ambulance services do it. I have sent emails to all of our personnel and attached the state statutes regarding emergency vehicles and emergency response, and require that they all meet that and have all read it and agree to meet that and agree to operate within that standard. That is the way the fire department handles it. That is the way that everybody else handles that. So far as that goes, we meet the standard and we operate under the standard. Then the standard will decide whether or not we were operating outside.
But the fact remains that if something happens, the town is responsible. It's the insurance of this town that is responsible. So you pull into somebody's driveway and you accidentally run into a car or take off a mailbox or whatever stupid thing happens. I know I'm a fire department, I know what happens. The town is responsible for that. That's where it is.
Yes.
No matter what you
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm surprised you don't know that. Yes.
Jay, let's keep this focused to.
Yeah, I think we need to just agree to change medical direction to operate. We can and are very happy to work with the town to provide the data necessary for this. I realize that this hasn't been happening. I've only been the director for since whatever that was, October 21. October 21. And we only operated for a couple of weeks before Lakeview shut us down. So we've just been in a holding pattern. And I've sent dozens upon dozens of emails, and nobody has asked me for any of these things.
I
told me
think
this is what we need to proceed.
we can probably put this to rest. I think if you get this to our clerk, we can vote on it, and I don't think, I don't see any
What
problem.
happens if a Lakewood doesn't want to be in charge of their ambulance service because they're a different provider as medical judge?
So what do we do?
There's no difference. Lakeview wouldn't be responsible anyway. We would be. All it is this, the state standard has changed, so you don't need to be affiliated with the EMS service. Instead, you have to have a medical director.
Right.
So all that we would need to have this service be available to our town members right now is to vote on a change in medical directive at no cost, as it's been represented. And maybe hopefully if somebody has a heart attack tonight, they can say,
No.
The problem is,
You gotta have a committee. You gotta have a committee too, that they're reporting
Yeah.
to.
What if we lose Lakeview because of this? Then we don't have
You
any.
can't lose Lakeview because you have a contract with Lakeview.
Okay.
and
You have a contract.
Lakeview hasn't been performing this one little piece of it, so they have a problem with it. I'm sorry, they didn't perform. I mean, that's not a big deal. But I guess that's why I asked back on the other agenda item, where's our EMS agreement? And so,
Correct. That's what you're asking. That's the right question.
right, so, and I was expecting to appoint some members to that tonight. I
Well,
guess.
it's the board, it's Lakeview, and it's Hudson Fire. That's who,
And
that's
we
the
originally
committee.
included North Hudson and North Hudson, but whoa. Our police do that.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Look, we need to come to some resolution. This is the last agenda item.
I think that once you get this in, we can vote on it and make it official, just put it to rest.
I think we need to vote on it, change our medical direction, and work towards all these clerical issues that we've done.
I would
This
ask
has gone on way too long.
Okay, I would ask for Vicky's idea on that. Do you trust, you seem trustworthy. How long would it take you to get this to Vicky or Teresa? Couple hours? Well, we need to do background checks too.
Again, I think we get medical direction in place and we work towards the clerical issues here that we apparently don't have in place. And again,
medical direction to the provider of Northwestern EMS through Dr. Ace. Let's take it one at a time. I make that motion. Is there a second?
Northwestern EMS, you said?
Yeah, repeat your resolution.
My motion is we change the medical direction, which I think is the technical term, of the first responders to be Northwestern EMS through Dr. Ace. Is there a second?
I would like to amend that motion to include once they get everything required by the town clerk.
So I don't want to accept that amendment because we can address that with my second motion. But what we do need to vote on tonight, rather than have, time past to June, is to change the medical director because they can't operate by law without that. So, if they get their paperwork in to pass the background check, they could be out saving some people.
And they should get the paperwork in and pass background check.
Yes, but regardless, Lakeland isn't doing our medical director. So I'm saying let's vote on the change of it right now so that we don't have to do that piece later. To me, they're separate issues. There's what we require as a township and what the state says you can't operate until you get this. They're two separate things.
And it's like taking an application that nobody filled out. I mean, okay. I think what our chairman is trying to say is that we could possibly vote on changing the medical directive to Dr. Ace. However, I hear what you're saying. We can't give you the green light to represent our township without the paperwork that we're asking you to have done in the office. So they're two totally different things. We can't give you the green light and say, go ahead, because we have to protect ourselves as well. Thank you, Mr.
So we have a second on my original motion, which is to change the medical direction to Northwestern EMS and Dr. Ace.
Okay, so I think that what we're saying is that we have a contract with Lakeview in which they agree to provide medical direction for our first responders. And so what we're really saying here is that we're willing to accept Dr. Acey as the medical director in lieu of the medical direction that we have contracted with Lakeview until they resolve the issue, until the issue is resolved.
I would accept that friendly amendment.
No, you're still missing the point. First of all, the medical director was with Regions. And you're right, you can't do anything, but you need to do the whole thing. And both Rachel and Susan are
Okay,
right.
let's keep
change your motion.
Let's keep it focused to board members. We're going to be here forever, Tim. Keep it to board
You got
members.
it wrong. That's why.
I don't think so, but
Go ahead
I
and
accept,
give me a second.
I accept your friendly amendment. Is there a second to that?
Yeah, I think that, I think that we're not quite, I agree with, I think what Tim is trying to say is that, right now we don't have a say in this because we don't have really the animal built yet that, attaches to. And so we
So what was your point? Until Lakeview contract?
Until the Lakeview contract is resolved.
which sounds right.
Look, and you do have to say, we answer to the board, which is why we're looking to have your approval to make this change.
So I guess, if they want to do that, I guess I would second that on the way I've expressed it.
Which I accept your amendment.
Okay, recognizing that, we still can't move ahead until we do some other things.
It's a separate issue.
Okay.
We don't want to move ahead unless they all of our eyes are as easy as possible. So we'll get this to
to accept that medical correction.
And doctors.
Yes, doctors.
Will that hold your contract with Lakeview?
No, because they would be in breach because they've had 6 months to do it. So they're already breaching that term. And you can breach your part without breaching it. So that's, in my opinion, that's not a problem. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none.
Yes, so just understanding this, our second motion is going to be that they cannot actually go on call until the paperwork is in the clerk's hand.
That'll be the next motion.
Just clarification.
We are making one motion to deal with one piece of this right now.
That was just discussion, from what I understand.
And as Dan stated, in lieu of, until we get our contract issue maybe worked out with Lakeview, they can have medical correction from Dr. Ace and Northwestern if this is allowed. Okay? Because part of my concern with this is we have people willing to help our citizens, right? And it's like, if the holdup is Lakeview stalling, let's get something in place so these folks can help. Now, the separate issue is, do they need to fill out some paperwork? Perhaps. We can talk about that on the second motion.
I'll second Dan's motion.
All those in favor?
It was Rob.
Amended by Dan. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. So, who wants to be the advocate for the next step? Let me just say one thing. I think that ultimately, these folks are going to be reporting to us as a town board. So what's most important to me is that there's the oversight piece. I don't know that we necessarily, unless it's by law, need a committee. What we really need is to get the required information by statute. And I wish I would have had this earlier, this would have been helpful. To effectuate this service so that we don't have somebody that could have been out. And because we couldn't get our stuff together.
Can we make a motion to approve their services on Vicky's say when she gets all the information, we can just consider them approved? Well, yeah, when this is in your hand.
That's a lot of contracts on that thing.
Right, so maybe the third director needs to determine if they have the correct medical training to do this.
And that's already been done, yes.
But you have to, I mean, that's it.
If you
Well,
want
yeah.
that information, we'll give it to you.
Well, yes, I understand.
And you would have given it to 6 months ago, if you knew you were asking.
Yeah.
Or if you knew you didn't have. Nobody has communicated any of this to me. And this is very easy stuff to handle. And this is, so the motion passed to change the medical provision.
Yes, that doesn't mean you can do anything yet. We're still discussing the next steps. So, I don't know where this document was generated from. Teresa, I know you handed it out just now. I don't know that the law requires a contract with the town for each individual. I don't know that the contract for costs incurred, all this stuff seems a little bit unnecessary.
And again, the state has all of the information they need from us for us to operate as a first responder agency. We've already done all that work with the state. So the state says if we can or cannot operate and under what terms and conditions, which we've done all of.
It's posted on
But in
the
essence, you are employees of the town, so even if you're not getting paid. And that's the reason for these contracts, is that they have to supply certain information to the town. Vicki has to file reports to the state on what they're doing, not just what they say they're doing, what they actually are doing, because she's required under that maintenance of effort to do so.
What do the reports look like in the last 10 years?
She had, well, after St. Croix EMS, she gets what she has from Lakeview.
So that's 6.5 years from Lakeview.
Lakeview has
Regarding us?
provided, Lakeview has provided those reports.
Regarding what we are doing?
Now, everything of maintenance.
We just took, everything was under Lakeview, and now it's not under Lakeview, so
So now
now.
we shall have to have reports from you guys. And this contract,
Well,
everybody has a
and
contract.
again, that's fine. Somebody has to tell me that you are asking for this information.
I know, but I didn't know this either, and I still don't know what's required.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why we need someone to be a supervisor, because they need a direct supervisor, and it was always Safer EMS and then Lakeview, but.
I'll volunteer to be this,
Well, this committee is, this town board plus that committee of the fire department, and that was what was supposed to happen after October 21st, and we kept waiting
well,
for.
here's the thing, we're not gonna wait for a committee that's not meeting and acting. We have people that can help our citizens now. And that's why I'm saying, if they meet the state law requirements, and they're doing it, and they're getting grant funding, hamina patra, right? I'm all for it. And it makes no sense for us to sit there and keep these guys on the sidelines when somebody could be saved or helped. And I don't really care about, you know, what contract with the town. You don't need to be a contract employee. We all know you're going to be our agent if you get a wreck, and there's state statutes that protect you from operating an emergency vehicle.
Well, we have to have some sort of agreement, you know, some sort of contract, you know, between us and them that provides an understanding of our relationship and how this works and what.
No, you don't need a contract with us. You own the first responders. We are just out there providing the care. And I'm as the appointed director, I guess I would be your immediate contact. But the town board.
We have to have an agreement that we have to have some sort of agreement with our. Agreement.
We have a contract with Lakeview, we don't have a contract with you guys.
You don't need a contract with us because we work for you. You are the town, and the town owns the first responders.
We need applications or something.
Yeah.
We have to work through that arrangement to make sure.
Whatever you guys would require, I guess would be up to you to require.
You're missing it all. And you're right in one point, Robert, and that's that we need to get this on the ball. We kept waiting for regions to approve it, and I knew back in October that they were willing to do that. And I thought, well, why would regions want the medical direction done by somebody else? And so if we're willing to switch, but then put the committee in place and start the process. You know what I mean? That's what we were going to do in October.
So
They do that.
Lakeland had provided the medical directive, they would be out tonight.
Correct.
Providing service.
Correct.
So what's the difference if we're simply changing
We changed
the medical directive?
We changed it.
All you're
We
changing is the medical
became part of the
directive.
state where you now report to the town as they've indicated, and that's where you need the committee. And then in October, we agreed it would be a committee of the town board, the fire department, Lakeview, and North Hudson at the time. But North Hudson didn't want to be part of it.
That is a requirement of the town, not of the state, to operate as a first responder organization. The town wanted a committee. The town doesn't need, we don't need a committee.
And what they were concerned about was if there was any supervision, who was going to do it?
The chairman has agreed to be a primary supervisor in the interim. But I would also mention, we list Lakeview as part of that committee, but I would say we should change that to be our medical direction should be on the committee. It was supposed to be Lakeview, but they haven't agreed to that. And I don't think we can vote on any of those things tonight, but I think maybe that's a future issue of amending that committee membership to be the representative of medical direction, not necessarily a representative of Lakeview EMS.
Okay, can I just call a point of order here? They've agreed that they will give us this information, so let's let them do their thing, get this to Vicki, and then we can okay it. But the town wants a contract. It's our ask if something happens. So
There's no contract. You own the first responders.
This right here, this is what the town wants.
But I don't know what you mean by a contract. We're not a contracted employee.
Okay, that,
Provide this information.
Mr. Dill?
please, yes.
We already voted on what was on the agenda. I think we should just have future discussion on the rest of it, whether supervisor who, it's,
So,
the committee was supposed to be the supervisor. I just think maybe next month we should discuss this and discuss where we want to go with this. I agree, we need the guys to be able to do their work, but
it's concerning to me that because we meet once a month, these folks are gonna be sidelined. And I don't wanna see somebody in our community that could have been helped, not get helped. All right? That's
None of
really-
us want to see that.
but let's get.
That has to be followed.
Vicki, do you have contracts in mind where it says a contract between the individuals in the town? You have to ask the attorney? Okay,
But
so,
you have to start at the top of that.
Well,
yeah, so they've agreed to do it, let's let them do it, and then we'll vote on it. I agree, it needs to be done ASAP, we need the service. So, once they get it to you, maybe we could call a special town board meeting. 5-minute meeting to approve it.
Well, allow me to follow up with the state and work our way through what's going on. This to me looks like this would be a requirement of the town, not a requirement of the state. If you look and you say start at the top, the top says it's governed by DHS 110, the state of Wisconsin. We are governed by them, we are meeting all of their standards. These things, if this is what the town requires, that's fine, and we'll operate with whatever the town requires. I don't think this is a state requirement or a legal requirement.
I would agree with you, and if this was provided by our deputy clerk, and again, I didn't see it before tonight, but I guess we don't have contracts with police departments, right? If we had our own police department, we wouldn't have a contract. If we had our own fire department, we wouldn't have a contract. It's our department, and this program is our program. And so I'm not sure that we need a contract or a committee, because we are saying, they're agents of the town. Go do, right? We don't, I mean, I've represented thousands of police and fire and EMS and corrections, and not once has there been a contract for the city's own police department, right? We own this is their group. It's part of the town's service.
Don't we have agreements with like the fire department, when they go out on calls, they bill us? I mean, we have agreements
So does
with
application,
these
Job
entities.
application.
Yeah. I don't see the problem with doing this. I just don't see the
well,
problem.
just get the application, copy the driver's license, we'll do background checks, and you guys can approve it.
Okay.
I mean, I think Lakeview's been doing an amazing job with run times. People aren't dying in the town of Hudson, let's be honest. Lakeview's been fantastic, their run times are super low, so I think I agree with everybody that if we can get the paperwork done in process, get it in. My dad was a firefighter, first responder, there's stuff that has to be taken care of, job applications, liability insurance, it's not just sign a piece of paper and run.
So can you have your guys put in job applications?
Sign a piece of paper and run. We have done.
But we don't have that information, Jay. I think I'm an outsider looking in, just sitting here listening. What they're asking for is all the paperwork in the office.
Completely out of context here. We are medically trained, we are approved by the state, we are approved by a doctor to operate under her license. We're not flying by the seat of our pants.
That's not what I'm saying, Jay. All we're asking for you is to print out all that paperwork so we have it in the office.
All right, here's the deal. We're gonna call this back to order. So, I move when you submit your first responders' names, driver's licenses, so we can do a background check. Provide us the state documentation that you're approved. We've already voted on the medical directive. I would say if you could do those three things, then we can call a special meeting and give them our blessing.
We would also need to know the number.
That's our monthly report, so you need to do for that report.
As required by the state and our medical directive.
No, she has to do a separate report for the state of Wisconsin. If she does not do it, the state will withhold some of your taxes.
But he actually has to do the report and submit it to me, and then I have to resubmit it.
How often is that?
Once a year.
It's June 15th.
Can you get us those items I said? Okay.
So you said first responder's name, driver's license, and state documents that you're approved.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, that's a motion. Is there there a second?
Has to agree to reporting.
Every part?
She wants it recorded.
Hold on, every part. And,
I don't know why I'm losing sleep over this. I don't know why I'm losing sleep over this for the last however long we've been doing this. Let's try to make this a little bit easier. We are unpaid, we are unfunded, we are willing, we are crazy enough to do this. Let's try to get this thing.
I think that's exactly what we're saying, Jay. We really appreciate what you're doing. So I know it seems like kind of hassle, but
We do it, it's hard to understand.
It's
The
confusing.
record had a problem.
I have been trying to clarify these items since I was appointed, and nobody is asking any of these questions until here we are at the 11th hour. This is enough already. I realize this is new to you guys, but this is actually falling back on you because all of these reports and all this information, it's never been done. We've never done it.
Can we just?
We're trying to dot i's and cross t's, and I'm happy to do it. But we gotta get in here.
All right,
This is
so
easy.
Can we just
Stop. Procedurally, folks,
Let's do
procedurally.
this and get it going.
Dan made a motion. You seconded it if it included a clause of reporting.
No, you made the motion.
I made the motion, you seconded it.
Rachel seconded it, but it included reporting,
If it included reporting.
monthly reporting.
I don't accept that amendment.
Okay.
Is there a second?
well, are we obligated by law to provide monthly
I
reporting?
We have to type it.
But this is to get started. Yearly.
So then last year, we have to have a full reporting.
And nobody's saying we don't. Okay, I'm not saying we don't. But to get started, if they provide those documents, they can get started doing their job, volunteering for us, right? So, I do not accept the amendment. We can deal with reporting on a separate date. Is there a second?
They were not having to give us a report for a month or 2 months. So why can't we just put reporting in the motion? It's not something they have to bring with their IDs and names.
Well, there wouldn't be reporting for the first month because they don't have any cases to do until we approve them starting.
Exactly, so let's make one good motion and approve it and not deal with it again.
And I think possibly, Rachel, what if in your motion that you will make sure that we have the yearly reporting that Vicki needs in time to file? Because she said she has to file this once a year from all.
That's what's required.
Right. So we just have to make sure that she has that full reporting once a year.
So I'm hearing you propose an amendment to the motion to say the yearly reporting. I will accept that amendment. So that's a second then, right? Am I right, Vicki? We've got my motion, we've got a second with that amendment. Any further discussion?
So Susan is.
What's the date that they have to have this by?
I have no idea.
I think it was June 1st.
Okay, I don't know if that's.
How long does it take to do background checks?
I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, depends on.
But Jane, you just understand, whatever she needs, when she can figure out when she has to have that reported by, then you would yearly have that to her so that she can file.
So this is a requirement of the town. That's what you're asking.
Yes, as a requirement of the town, we require once a year to have your full reporting so that Vicki can send that to the state of Wisconsin as well.
Okay, let's take this one step at a time.
She has to file.
Okay, let's take this one step at a time, okay? If you can get what we're talking about in this motion to them, then I can call a special meeting, an emergency meeting, and approve you guys to operate. So the sooner you get that to us, the sooner we can do it. Okay? So, any further discussion on where Susan's motion is at, which is that you're going to agree to yearly reporting to?
I would just like to say we appreciate you. We're not trying to ignore it.
It doesn't feel appreciated because we've been messing around with this forever. And we're at the end.
Well,
saying aye. Opposed? Communications for items for future agendas.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have no.
Okay.
I'd like to put it on the agenda next month to reevaluate possibly changing our meeting nights on Tuesdays. I know we've been there before, but I'd like to do it again. Also, I would also like to bring up about putting out some type of a cigarette butt container, something.
It's called a smoker's bowl.
Okay, a smoker's bowl. I'd like to bring that up.
Anybody else?
Yes, I would like to talk about our emergency operations plan. I think it needs to be done like once every 10 years, but I think we should take a look at it. Do we have hazmat response? Do we have a train track right here? What if a train derails and there's some toxic substance in there? We need to know who we can call. Like my husband there, he's like, no, I'm not saying they're gonna call you, but he used to deal with those types of emergencies.
Just an agenda item.
We need a hazmat team.
Yes.
We need first responders.
Just an agenda item.
Just an agenda item, and that's why we go to federal
Okay,
training.
right, yep,
He's the first one
discuss our
on the
safety
list,
plan.
so he needs to go to federal training.
I would agree with that. So I'm actually going to put emergency operations plan / training,
Thank you.
because I agree, and I'd like to go to that. Anybody else? Any other agenda items?
I think we should keep this, first responders, compliance and approvals, and let's kind of not agenda for a while about all of these things.
Sounds good. And of course, we did already talk about 6 and 7 as well. Anybody have a motion to show?
I'll make a motion.
Just a moment, we have a town attorney and our town staff.
Town attorney's left. Anybody have anything?
I have something for the board. We received a complaint because our flag was not lowered on Sunday for the home firefighters. Mr. Fowler stated to Vicky and I that he's now delegating that job to us because we are here. He's not at the town hall like we are. Unfortunately, you all are on call 24/7. We are not. I wasn't even in the state on Sunday. I was in Illinois, I'm even here. So there's no way I can be responsible for that. And I think that I would like the board to reconsider this and look at that the board should be responsible for that flag in some way, shape, or form.
You know what? I have to say one quick thing. So I was told that there was going to be we have a flag service that was going to notify us when we had to up and down the flag. They didn't tell me about it until it was already done. Nobody told me. No, of course, I'm supposed to know this on thin air on a Sunday. Okay?
And that's fine, I just am telling you that someone's.
Flag poles on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.